Welcome back to Galaxy Grudge Match. Last we left off, we'd begun the mass extinction of all lions on the planet at the hands of some cartoony animals. Surely this will bode well for everyone involved.
I mean, we all know that lions become the grass, so circle of life?
I'm sure there will be people in 2 years calling us 3 miniature Hitlers for talking about killing hypothetical animals, like the rest of the internet hasn't been doing this debate for the past year. I don't know what's more likely, the Versus community not blowing things out of proportion, or the Pokemon community getting Nat decks back.
Wow, okay, so we're not even gonna bother walking on eggshells. Just gonna crush the fucking carton right off the bat, huh?
Nah. Lions don't come from eggs. But let's make haste with the proceedings.
I suppose I'll be the one to start this. So here's our first advocate for mass lion murder, Maddie. This is a lot closer than people may think. All three have huge advantages over some others. In the end, I think the grass types will have the biggest advantages over the other two types for a few reasons. First, weather is going to be a lot more important than people may think, as rain weakens fire types and sun weakens water types. Grass Pokemon can take advantage of both, as the sun they can use moves like Solar Beam faster, and Venusaur has the ability Chlorophyll, which doubles its speed in the sun. They can also take advantage of Rain Dance because they're plants, and water would just reinvigorate them after they've had a sip. The fire types may be strong, but since only one of them has the ability Drought, a one-time use ability, and way more water types have Rain Dance, which can be used multiple times and thus weakening them for the majority of the battle. In fact, it is probably such a hindrance to them that I believe fire types will play dead last. Sorry, Biff. So it comes down to water versus grass, and we all know how that goes. Grass having more recovery moves and being able to get energy from sun and rain will mean they have much more stamina to spare, while the waters have natural stamina. Sorry, Brando, this isn't California. I don't think your waters will be able to make a flood. It'll be a long, hard fight, then all three teams will defeat lions. I think the fire types will be left in the dust and water types will be slightly short. Grass will kick ass. You should have been saying it will kick grass. The green team will win. I hate reading comments. I don't want to be here anymore.
So, a big thing Maddie focuses on at the beginning of her comment is weather. Keeping the uptime between sunny day and rain dance is important, but I don't think you exactly understand how rain dance works. This isn't the Zen Garden. The plants aren't getting a boost because it's raining like the blue team are. It gives the water types more power and eventually more mobility, allotting them all surface area to swim. Plus, it is naturally going to bother the lions way more than sunny day. They're used to living in savannas with bright sunlight rather than downpours.
In regards to which is going to be out more frequently between the sun and the rain, the sun is never going to be a detriment to anyone. It benefits the grass and fire types, and the water types aren't actively hindered by it beyond halving their attacking power. Wow, they can only one-shot a lion 500,000 times over rather than 1,000,000? How will they cope? On the other hand, the fire types are actively hindered by the rain. It'll extinguish any fire on the ground, and while it's not going to be actively damaging to them, water does still bother them. And given that this is a team effort with the bet only being a side thing, I don't see the water trainers actively sabotaging the other sides.
Obviously, grass types aren't actually getting boosted by Rain Dance. It's more that plants just naturally use water to live. And unlike fire types, rain won't actively be hurting the grass types' kill streak. It's definitely preferred to be sunny since that benefits the grass types more, but it isn't the end of the world not to have it. While the fire and water types are having a weather war, grass will actually be working to get their numbers up.
If sunny day is a source of neutrality here, that means any uptime the rain dance has is going to be a benefactor for the water starters, and they're the only team that can say they have that advantage. There is Solar Beam, but most of the water starters have Hydro Pump, which is about equal in power. More on things I see as neutral though. Maddie's other point is about healing, which I don't think matters at all. These trainers are the champions for a reason, and have access to full restores, max potions, and whatever healing items they need to restore their team. Or what's stopping them all from HMO2ing to a Pokemon Center for a heal or more items? It's gonna be a long battle anyway.
See, that's where grass types have a little bit of an advantage. The breaks these trainers will need to take are just going to slow down their progress. Rain Dance may lessen the healing of Synthesis, but not attacks like Leech Seed and Mega Drain. Speaking of Mega Drain, we even see in an episode starting to go to Groddle that Synthesis not only replenishes health, but stamina too. Not only will they not have to take as many breaks to heal up, they'll be able to replenish their own stamina at the same time. With the multitude of healing moves grass types have, they won't have the same problem fire and water do in that regard.
It'll probably take a while for anyone to get tired here, even longer if trainers just give them some hold items. A single Oran Berry should keep them going for ages, given how long it's going to take the lions to do literally anything to any of them.
I mean, I don't know. 1 billion is a lot.
Oh, don't worry, we'll get to that soon enough. But before all that though, we have some more comments coming through, including this one from Adam. I'm gonna side with Biff, just so his only win on the show won't be... I had options for comments to pick. Why did I go with this one? Earthquake can serve a pretty big advantage just for singular Pokemon, but they're also going to be hurting other members of their teams, so they'll likely be preserved in order to not get in the way of themselves. Also, Earthquake can be nerfed under grassy terrain, whereas other AoE moves don't have this issue. The fire types have spread coverage moves that won't be getting in the way of their teammates, making them the long-term better options. The fire moves can also lead to surrounding the battlefield to go up in flames, which would have to be dealt with by the other two teams as well as the Lions. The water types extinguishing the fire would take their attention away from the Lions, and the grass types will be at risk of getting burned themselves. Individually, only Charizard can naturally fly and does so consistently, which automatically gives it a mobility advantage. Plus, others have fire emitting from their bodies, which would burn the Lions if they get too close. Also, I don't think Incineroar would be as much of a burden as Biff thinks it would, since Kukui was willing to fight Ash's Litten and obeyed him pretty well, despite what the Dex entries say. All that's in addition to what Biff's already said in their favour, so I'm gonna root for the— oh my god, fuck off. Adam ending with the biggest L I've ever seen. A scrummy moment, if you will. Though, if Adam sides with me and loses by proxy, he'll have my original 3-episode losing streak. Not gonna lie, I'm tempted to throw the debate right now.
I get friendly fire. That's fair. Now, if only these were world champions who knew to space their Pokemon far enough away from each other to keep super effective moves from hitting their teammates— oh, wait! Yeah, I think all the trainers know their Pokemon's weaknesses well enough to keep friendly fire to a minimum. Even if they weren't, grass types have Razor Leaf, which isn't omnidirectional and therefore doesn't hit any of their allies. If Heat Wave somehow finds its way to the grass starters, they heal through it. Or in Torterra's case, tank it for everybody else. Surf isn't even super effective against grass types, so there's not really any danger there either.
Yeah, this might hinder my chances a little, but you can't just say Surf and Earthquake would cause too much damage to the other team's Pokemon for them to be able to use them, and then go on to say, now the fire types could just use their own AoE moves to damage the other teams as a point in their favour. It's all dependent on spacing, so either all of these omnidirectional AoEs are on the table, or none of them are. Stuff like Razor Leaf and Heat Wave shouldn't be too much of a bother though, given how those can be focused in a single direction with more control.
I want to focus on something with the fire type team here. Regarding Adam's comment, let's talk about Incineroar. My detested. I really disagree with what Adam had to say about the Alolan Whip. You see, I think he is going to get incredibly bored fighting Lions, like was stated in part 1. Yeah, he's taken on Ash Ketchum's Litten and not given up, but Ash is literally a trainer who designed his whole career around not evolving his Pokemon. And I think that says way more about Litten and Torracat, if anything. The fact that they can fight Kukui's Incineroar. There's a difference between a Litten, who clearly had the potential to be one of Ash's aces in Alola, rather than a wave of Lions who aren't even going to issue him any challenge. But it's not just Incineroar. Let's talk about Charizard. You see, in the Pokedex for Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald—
holy shit, Brandon, we saw how you started your debate. Please, for the love of God, go outside. Climb a fucking tree for once.
Huntsman— okay. The deck states that Charizard will never torch a weaker foe, and will never turn its fiery breath on any opponent weaker than itself. I'm not going to be drastic and say that the two of them are outright useless now, but fire is the only side with this issue, twice. And it's not like we can just ignore the Dex's word. It is literally written in-universe by the trainers spearheading this fight. Their words are gospel, like that funny Scottish Gloria Biff we did at the start.
I hate it here. Anyway, so I don't exactly agree with saying Charizard and Incineroar would just get bored and not try. I know I said in part 1 that Incineroar would, but that was mostly for the sake of a joke since it gave me nothing of worth to talk about besides that. Actually, this mostly applies to Charizard anyway, so these are Pokemon who've been trained by champions. They've travelled across an entire region with them, and Charizard's bond with Red is so strong that it can achieve Mega Evolution. They're not gonna say, well, I know if I leave you could end up getting mauled to death by wild animals, but I'm not having a whole lot of fun right now, so I'm unfortunately gonna leave you to your death. They are not going to abandon their friends like that. And even then, I'd say the swarms of lions would give them a challenge in sheer numbers, even if each individual lion isn't going to be physically matching them.
Oh, and I know Huntsman's foaming at the mouth to tear into this next guy's comment. Let's see what Larry has to say, and then the world's your oyster again. Okay, so Larry left a timestamp in his comment, and it's a clip of the character Cross kicking a Charmander. So, yeah, make fun of him for that. From the arguments I've seen, this looks like an easy W for Hunter. Probably the easiest win of his life, actually. which is why I'm going for Brandon and his water starters to try and make this more of a challenge for him. So the comment I chose out actually does not think I have this. I know this is an inside joke for when we play Smash Bros, but inside joke shouldn't be in the show. Before I get to water specifically, I'm going to rank who I think goes from worst to best, and I generally think fire types take last here. It doesn't help that 2 of the fire types aren't even going to be willing to help out as they hate fighting weaker opponents, being Charizard and Incineroar. Biff tries to rely on the fire types having more ways to attack without wasting PP, but that isn't too big of a point when they have access to their trainers who should have items to replenish PP. And I'm sure they aren't just going to get them to run out of PP. I'm a kindergartner. Fire could spread out and kill lions slowly, but thanks to the water type spamming Surf, I wouldn't count on it. I also don't think the grass types are going to make it that far either. Their best chance is Earthquake in my eyes, and only one Pokemon knows how to use it. Sure, they have moves like Sleep Powder and Leech Seeds, but this is a race. Doing things slowly isn't going to help them keep their lead. Plus, there's a chance Sleep Powder could hit one of their allied Pokemon. Also, I'm pretty sure stuff like Sunny Day isn't going to help because everyone can one-shot lions. I believe with moves like Surf and Blastoise's giant water cannons, and the fact that the water types are less likely to not need breaks to heal up or recover thanks to their defense, means that the other 2 types are just going to end up washed up. You gotta wash your hair with green hair dye.
Alright, Mr. Green Hair Dye. I see how you want to play this. Powders, of course, aren't an instant kill. Neither is Leech Seed. Sleep Powder might just be a bad move, but Poison Powder is not. If it's a poison strong enough to take normal Pokemon out of a fight, what's it gonna do to a lion? It's gonna start melting its insides like cheese. That's what.
Leech Seed and the powders are going to be pretty useless anyway, dealing chip damage over time when you can already one-shot the ones you're infecting, putting them to sleep temporarily to leave them open for everyone else, paralyzing those you already blitz. Not much for them to get out of that. Even Leech Seed won't help, since the health it recovers is relative to the HP of both the target and the user. A minuscule fraction of a lion's maximum health being restored to any of these guys is not going to make the slightest of differences, especially since Leech Seed isn't an AoE move and can only hit one target at a time.
You know what is AoE though? Great AoE? Surf! Like Huntsman said prior, just spread the blue crew apart and let them power wash the fur and skin off the lot. One Torterra versus a bunch of surfing Pokemon will hang 10. And then the other 99 million, give or take.
Be that as it may. Yes, Earthquake is at danger of hitting allies, but that's really only if none of the trainers cared about this being a team effort at all. Razor Leaf works just fine enough on its own to sweep through waves of lions. Water types not having to heal as often is one thing, but the fact grass types can heal while on the battlefield more frequently means they wouldn't need to take a break to go all the way back to their trainer. Healing for the other teams takes them out of the fight, while healing for grass types isn't as disruptive. All things I may have said before.
We don't want to start treading over similar ground. Or water. Blastoise's cannons will turn Pride Rock into a local car wash. But a lot less satisfying though. Speaking of, that's enough of Lerald's comment. Now we move on to Studio.
I'm not going to look at the members of each team since each team has their own strengths and weaknesses to cover. I see it as fire with the hardest hitting but least defense, water with a good mix in between, and grass needing strategy and time. So this might be a hard topic to cover. That said, I think one team is going to have to risk itself a bit too much. Fire is the one that I could bet on being in trouble over time. Having various fire moves is neat, sure, but Lions IRL are scared shitless of fire. They're going to move the hell away the second they see that coming, and this will help push them away from them and towards other groups who can get those kills. As well, looking at their defensive options, they have some but nowhere near as effective as the other two types. Their moves can keep Lions away as a whole, allowing other groups to claim the reward, or they have to manage to get up close, meaning they'll be susceptible to being overrun in population and numbers. Those are basically the same thing. Also, fire starters tend to have a bit more of a temper than the rest, yada yada yada. Water then is off to a good start, but like fire, floods and water attacks will send them scattering. They have ranged stuff to blast apart and keep lions at bay, but the oversized cats will also be weary of them. Grass may need a bit of status effects, but that's not all bad. With widespread moves, a single powder could possibly cover hundreds, if not thousands, of overgrown cats. As well, nature is the only one lions wouldn't see coming. Fire and floods are things lions deal with, but overgrown vines, sharp leaves, and near-instant status-afflicting flowers and powders aren't. They won't suspect anything until it's too late. Also, lions can total up to the sun level and fight it, so fire is used. Okay, what? Joking with that last one, but with how grass and water can last longer than the rest, I see grass having a natural advantage.
I think you're underestimating hydro pumps just a smidge. It's not gonna send the lions slipping away like a garden hose. No, it's blasting them to pieces. Blastoise is strong enough to cut boulders, Swampert can crush stone, and Poleon's made of metal, all that good stuff. But I do agree that Fire is playing this way closer to the chest, and is playing this a lot riskier, using stuff like Flare Blitz. But Huntsman, your side isn't free from my forecast either. Studio, you can't just brush off status effects that simply. Any instance a Pokemon is hitting something and not one-shotting it is wasted time. Razor Leaf is good, but not only is it not omnidirectional like Surf, there are many instances where a Pokemon using Razor Leaf just sends out a barrage of multiple leaves towards one target. Same with Vine Whip. We usually see them lifting or smacking around single targets. Not as good as a Pressure Wash or a Samurott Shish Kebab, I'd say.
Well, sure, moves like Razor Leaf are used against single opponents all the time. But as far as game mechanics go, Razor Leaf consistently attacks all available enemies, while attacks like Hydro Pump only hit singles. Vine Whip isn't as good, sure, but make one long enough and you'd basically be Belmonting it through lines like a knife. It already snaps trees apart and lifts incredibly heavy Pokemon on its own. Just as good, if not better, than any normal arm.
Not going to ignore that bit about recoil from Flare Blitz. Much like Leech Seed's health recovery, the recoil damage from the move is relative to how much damage it did. Unless it's one-shotting a million lions at once, I don't see it putting a dent in anyone who happens to use it. If moves like Fire Spin can be used to surround the lions and fire from all angles, it's not going to matter whether they try to run or not. There would be nowhere for them to go. Besides, if Charizard just flies around and aims straight down with Flamethrower, I'm sure it would catch plenty of lions in its path.
Oh, you mean Mr. Oh, I'm a single jewel stronger than my opponent. Guess I'm not gonna fight back anymore. Cry me a river. You know Sorrow, author of the heartbreaking tragedy Fall Guys vs. Among Us end scenario.
I mean, I'm not surprised you'd cry at that given what's gotten you before.
Method acting, you ever heard of it? If I'm not shooting water guns out of my eyeballs on command, how am I supposed to synergize with my team?
Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what your thought process was back in 2018 on opening night. You know, back when the most recent Galaxy Grudge match was the one where Duckle willingly voiced a member of the Black Order.
Okay then, give me a reason to actually cry over another comment. Read out your last one. I'm sure it'll be fan-fucking-tastic.
I think there's a key player here that isn't being discussed enough, Delphox. Not only can it see the fatigue that the fire types will burn through, it can also see what its rivals, the grass and water types, will do as well. This innately gives the fire types the edge, and Delphox combined with one other Pokemon in my eyes gives them the win alone. That being Typhlosion. See, people say, oh, the ring can completely neuter fire types, but Typhlosion's so hot and not in the furry way, that being near it can kill you. And by near, I mean practically if you're in the same town as it. While Pokemon and Pokemon humans aren't too affected by this due to their biology, I'm sure regular lions won't be so capable of handling its heat shimmers and explosions. Have Delphox carry the lug around in the air to make sure it doesn't waste energy punting the little cats aside, and have it go Bakugo on enemy Pokemon with Charizard support. Wait, enemy Pokemon, so you're saying they should go for friendly fire, okay.
I have one question, Biff. How the hell are you getting someone with a One Piece name on your side? That is my territory and you know it.
I literally read 3 whole volumes of One Piece. You could say it's my favourite series of all time. You're just a fake fan.
One of these days, Biff Weed. One of these days,
One Piece will be good. Or end. Those things might go hand in hand, actually.
Can we continue this debate before One Piece ends? How about that?
But Brandon, the best GGMs are always the one to go off topic for ages. Oh, here's an idea. Let's spend 3 minutes deciding how to pronounce Arceus.
Arceus? You would be wise to correct yourself.
If we can get this out before Legends Arceus. Dire. They mentioned the Typhlosion Heat Shimmers thing, as if 23 massively hypersonic creatures aren't going to be killing lions by being right next to them as well. And also, what Heat Shimmers? I don't see any flames on his back no more. They took the soul from my boy Marshtomp in 3D, so that argument is null and void.
Are you not the one who said the Pokédex is gospel here? And don't be bringing up 3D Typhlosion, that's non-canon, I've decided.
If only all the 3DS games were as well. Hey-oh! Worst gen! Sorry, hate to see it happen!
Hey, at least Sun and Moon were okay. Getting back on track, because this tangent has gone on long enough. Yeah, Future Vision is cool. If every fire starter had it. It's only Delphox, who also can't talk, and thus can't relay its visions to the trainers who are giving out orders. And if anything, the fire starters are the most likely to start the infighting because they're the ones that are generally more aggressive.
It is, concerning how affectionate our audience has been towards Delphox. But somehow that wasn't the most dire part of the comment section, cause gee, this was a cesspool. What a great time for all the cringeites to come out of the woodworks. So instead of taking a second comment for my side, because a lot of the comments are more general, I want to do something different and highlight how unfunny you all are with a lightning round of comments. Don't expect this to be a running thing for the series though. Lightning doesn't strike twice after all.
Why these three specifically? Ember's gonna look on from the side in horror as Cinderace is devoured. If only it was Charizard, then it would legally be allowed to help its dying friend.
You see, there's so much nuance to this joke. At first glance, it's like, wait, Digimon's included here? But then you realize...
Congrats, you can count. The laugh track has definitely been cued.
Be glad there's no Ice-type team here, or else this episode would never come out.
What else would you expect from the creator of the legendary Eyes in the Goku vs Superman collab?
Yet another person who graduated elementary school math with flying colors. Wait, you have a Riolu as your profile picture. Kelly, why are you arguing against the Pokemon?
Impressive that you were able to read the minds of everyone on the team to know that Larry and Adam specifically are the only two people who like Fairly OddParents or The Owl House. The rest of us hate both of those series. We only watch real shows for adults like Rick and Morty and Family Guy.
We went ahead and asked them. Sorry.
Hey, it's me. Get it? Because we're the same person. If only. I wish my Dio vs Alucard review passed 100,000 views.
Ducko trying to quirky his way around a scenario. Little does he know, his age has hindered his ability to make a compelling point.
I'm sad to announce that Huntsman's been fired from the team. Well, I mean, sad is a strong word.
I have never seen an image with less comedic value than Shaggy saying 1 billion is greater than 24.
Are we really in any place to be critical of other people's jokes? I mean, one of us put "it's like a fine bacon" into a Galaxy Grudge match, and one of us was on the stretch Royale. We are hardly comedic geniuses by any stretch.
Stretch. I guess the broader thing that I feel needs addressing is that losing to the Lions was never an option. These trainers are not dumbasses. Far from it, actually. This is a side bet, they've all got healing items, are thousands of times stronger, faster, and more durable. It doesn't matter how long it takes, these are not wild animals.
Speaking of which, it's probably about time for us to talk about who actually wins.
We're just a few steps away from the top of Victory Road. Actually, before that, only Biff really commented on this earlier, but I was curious. What are your guys' favorite Pokemon? Not like we're going to have the capacity to talk about this series to this extent in the future.
Well, I said at the start of my debate that Blaziken's my favourite, purely for sentimental reasons since it was my first Pokemon and my first Pokemon game. Excadrill and Weasel are up there for me as well. They both have great designs and they were super entertaining in their generations of the anime.
Asking me to name a favorite is like asking me which of my fingers I don't want cut off. That being said, Serperior is probably my favorite starter of them all, mostly because Black and White were big games for me growing up. Other than that, Mawile, Silvally, and Crocodile are big ones. Twist my arm and I might just include Dusknoir and Grovyle.
I already brought up Mudkip, although my favorite starter is actually Raboot, but I'd rather be found dead than debating for the side with Delphox. And my favorite starters are usually water. But other than them, Whimsicott, Tyranitar, and Raichu are three of my most favorites of all time. I won't go into my sentiments for them though, lest we start talking about how important the most profitable IP in the world is to us. Like Biff Weed trying to make us weep at how sentimental the Astronaut's Objective game is to him.
Just wait for the debut of Genshin Impact on this show, which will inevitably end with, "Yo, I'm so happy I get to talk about my crippling debt."
One of these days. But where do we even start with this one?
With last place, obviously. Now who would that happen to?
It's grass.
Well, damn.
But by no means was this an easy call. I mean, we say that every episode, cause like, why would we do a match where it's just a brutal stomp?
Before we get into who came out on top, why don't you get into what lands grass in the bottom spot, Huntsman?
Ugh, fine. I can only praise the grass types for so long, but in the end I had to cave. As much as their plentiful healing moves and generally good attacks and stats go, they severely lacked the firepower necessary to win this. Draining attacks and Razor Leaf can only get you so far when the fire types might as well be a literal volcano in comparison. Torterra may have Earthquake, but not only is that not great in a team setting, it can also be taught to basically everybody else. It's not really that special if everybody else has the possibility of learning it.
Healing moves aren't going to play as big of a factor here. The Pokemon have to be close enough to their trainers to make commands. so HP restoring items will be abundant, although they need to be spread out enough so that their AoE attacks are not interfering with one another. The environmental control coincidentally wasn't a benefactor for them either. If harsh sunlight is up, despite chlorophyll and solar beam being more powerful, burning and smoke are going to throw the Pokemon sensitive to it like Venusaur and Meganium off. And neither of the other teams get an advantage under Rain Dance. Grassy terrain doesn't just heal grass, it heals everyone on the other teams, so it's not a buff for them either. They can all one-shot a lion, it doesn't matter by how much they're one-shotting them.
What doesn't help the green team is that all their unique attributes are basically useless. Status effects are irrelevant, with chip damage from poison taking lions out slower, Leech Seed will recover basically nothing with how frail the lions are in comparison, their one big method of terrain control benefits the other teams more than themselves since it gives them constant passive healing, nullifying the grass team's one big edge, and Razor Leaf won't come close to the overwhelming speed and AoE the fire types bring, or the sheer range covered by all the Watermon spamming Surf.
When outmatched in offense and defense by the other teams, my loss was only inevitable, no matter how long I could stall with synthesis. Grass starters are meant to survive, not obliterate. The reason they have so many moves focused on status elements and healing is because they're supposed to wither their enemies away, weathering the storm like a tree until their opponent falls. Not the best strategy for getting the most kills. Survivability is a good factor to consider in long drawn-out fights, but maybe not the optimal win condition when the victory is determined by how many things you beat.
Especially when your team's going to potentially ditch that survivability edge by actively helping out the other two teams.
Speaking of which, we've finally plateaued. With only 2 teams left, only one can be inducted into the Hall of Fame. I'm running out of references and this is starting to sound like roleplay. Let's discuss fire versus water, although it's nowhere near as binary or simple as that.
You mean there's a limit to how much you have in your brain? You haven't memorized the entirety of Bulbapedia?
Hey, do you want to know what makes all 4.2 billion different variations of Spinda special? It's actually pretty interesting how the game randomly generates their patterns based off personality values.
Fucking hell, sorry I asked.
Haha, looks like Brandon really needs to go touch
Yes, Huntsman, we get it. Yeah, touch grass, haha.
You literally invented time, huh? You're not gonna criticize someone for overusing a joke. Hold your L already.
I'll have you find I've taken no L's in this episode yet. I already beat Huntsman, so that's at least half a win under my belt.
Not a full one, though. Ultimately, we decided that the water starters won the war. First Goku versus Superman, now this. Who knew copying Death Battle's matchups would lead to the exact same results?
Back on my losing streak already, huh? It's alright, I'll rectify this in the season finale. But that's for next episode. And for now, I should focus on how the water-type friends work together to claim their destiny as this episode's winners. While the fire types have a lot of speedsters, the problem is that a lot of them don't have the insane AoE that the water types do with Surf. In fact, a lot of their best AoE is exclusive to Typhlosion. No one else on the team has any reliable means to learn Eruption or Lava Plume. Heat Crash is a good option as well, but only half of them can learn it, being Charizard, Blaziken, Emboar, and Incineroar. Finally, the cat has provided something of value to the team. Yeah, most of them can learn Earthquake as well, but the amount on the other teams that can learn it kinda cancels that out, which leaves the most reliable widespread fire-type multi-hit move being Heat Wave. And that's not an omnidirectional thing like Surf, which all of the water types learn. It's just as, if not more reliable than Earthquake in terms of range, on top of helping change the battlefield around to be more in their favour and being able to be learned by all 8 of them, which more than outweighs the 6 on the other teams that can learn Earthquake. Hell, even if Surf briefly runs out of PP, 4 of the Team Aqua Grunts have Earthquake as a backup.
This battle of attrition is likely going to be a long one for sure, so the best way to rack up kills and get things done the quickest would be to spread them all out. So surfing is the most useful form of attack here. Getting around the battlefield with it resembling a flash flood with the constant waves means they likely have the best options for getting around all the lion bodies when they drop, without impeding the others like what the smoke will do for the grass types. But really, defense was their saving grace. They actually struck a really good balance between hyper offense, crowd control, and defenses, with a lot of them either being bulky while having range to make up for their travel speed, or being like Greninja and Inteleon who can respectively create subs or fly. Actually, the water team also seem to be the best fighters all around. Greninja's a skilled martial artist, Inteleon's a sniper, Samurot's movements resemble a samurai, Blastoise is a tank, and Swampert has those SpongeBob anchor arms. A lot of Dex entries for Red Team talk about how ferocious or animalistic they can be, while also being hot-tempered, but that's just going to tire them out needlessly, whereas the cool Blue Team have much more strategy on their side, and can form better game plans than go in guns blazing or chip them away with seeds and powders. Once they're all spread out, pull that trigger and watch the waves come crashing down. Biff's side is like a full team of single target DPSs, while Water has range and AoE, and that single target damage doesn't really add up when their opponents are too weak to take a single hit anyway.
Okay, but why did my first episode have to result in the extinction of an entire race?
This is quite the morbid topic, all things considered. And I know we make fun of sentimentality, but for real, getting to talk about Pokemon was a lot of fun.
This being a same series fight has definitely helped this project in regards to all of us being equally passionate for the series in question. There are Pokemon all three of us love and hate on each team. I would happily substitute Delphox for Sceptile any day.
As much as I would love to take the time to boot Chestnut over the rocky side of a volcanic cliff, I think it's about time we see how the scenario plays out.
And this is our last ride before the finale. Let's go!
The two of us will be back next episode, but this is the first and last time we're going to be seeing you until Season 2, Huntsman. You got anything you want to say?
I may have lost today, but this is all just part of my master plan. I might be the only one here, ending the season without a win, but one of these days I'll return and come out on top with a series more respectable than what Biff has on his resume.
Fucking, can we just forget about my win and have Brandon read his one out? Thanks.
It seemed like the work for the trainers was never ending. The Lions just kept pulling in. The novelty of this battle had run its course, according to Elio and Celine, who had been strategizing in the back to hit the Lions with one final super move. With Waterium Z in hand, they got into stance and let out a double powerful Hydro Vortex to torrent the kitty cats once and for all. Congratulations, the water types seem to have definitely taken out the most, Brendan remarked, his hat soaking wet after a tidal wave splashed him. After the Lions fainted, the billion of them were converted to EXP. Since most of the trainers' aces were already at max level, it did nothing, except for the trainers who were forced to have their EXP share on with no way to turn it off. Cause that's good game design. What a stupid game mechanic. This left more questions than answers though. Creatures other than Pokemon? Where did they come from? Why did they invade? And what effect did this have on their world? We turned to multiple Earths. Their populations of lions had disappeared into the void without a trace. This imbalance in the food chain caused a butterfly effect, threatening the delicate balance between predator and prey, as certain species began to overpopulate. With everything now in pandemonium, out of order, the planets were doomed to crumble. The animal kingdom and soon humanity went extinct because of this. But it's not like they knew about this. After all was said and done, the trainers returned home and lived happily ever after, none the wiser to the sheer pain and chaos they inflicted onto other worlds.
No one will be safe. I promise you that. Good luck, driver. Welcome to Twisted Metal.
Impressive how you were able to read the minds of everyone on the team to know that Larry and Adam specifically are the only two people who like Fairly Odd Parents or the Loud... Why do I keep saying Loud House? Fuck. Impressive that you were able to read the minds of everyone on the team to know that Larry and Adam specifically are the only two people who like Fairly Odd Parents or the... I keep going to say Loud House. Fuck.